Luma stood at the door of the escape pod and didn't move. The door was open. The engine lights were green. Freedom was right there, but her heart wasn't ready to leave, because behind her, Jack was loading his rifle alone. Outside, footsteps came closer. The ground shook. The enemy was almost here. Jack looked at her. "Go, Luma. Now you have a future. I don't." She shook her head. "I do. Only because of you." The shelter's scanner beeped again. Dots on the screen. 3, no 5. Targets approaching, some alien. Some human. Jack readied the last 2 explosives and placed one near the door. "If they take you back," he said, "they'll never let you go again." Luma's voice cracked. "Then I won't let them take me." Jack looked up, confused. "What?" She stepped forward, her small body shaking, but her eyes clear. "We fight together," she said. "Or we don't fight at all." He stared at her. This tiny girl who once trembled in a trap, who feared even his shadow. Now she stood tall beside him, holding a stun knife with steady hands. "You sure?" Jack asked. She nodded. "You made me brave. Now let me be brave for you." The enemies arrived fast. The first blast tore through the front wall. Smoke filled the shelter. Jack grabbed Luma and rolled behind the crates. Voices shouted, "Target in sight. Take the human down. Capture the girl alive." They moved like machines, but Jack was ready. He triggered the first explosive. Boom. 2 bounty hunters went flying. Luma rushed through the smoke, darting like a shadow, and jabbed her stun knife into the third one's leg. He dropped instantly, twitching. Jack fired at the last Earth soldier, but his gun ran out. The soldier raised his weapon at Jack. "Game over," he said. Then whack. Luma threw her toolbox right at his face. It slammed into his helmet, giving Jack just enough time to tackle him. They fought hard. Dust, sweat, fire all around. But Jack won. He stood up gasping and looked around. The shelter was burning. But the enemies were down. Later in the silence after battle, Jack patched a small cut on Luma's arm. "You saved my life," he said softly. She smiled. Lesson 10. Always aim for the head. He laughed. But then his smile faded. "The escape pod's still working," he said. "You can still go." Luma looked at the pod. Then at him. Then at the broken helmet of the man who tried to steal her life. "I don't want to hide anymore," she said. "I want to choose." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Choose what?" She stepped closer. "I choose you." Days later, under a new sky, Jack and Luma stood together on the ridge. Behind them, smoke still rose from the destroyed shelter, but ahead of them, open land, mountains, clean water, new caves. No trackers. No hunters. No fear. Jack had found a new location far from the last. "I'll fix the ship someday," he said. "We'll leave this planet together." Luma nodded. "And go to Earth?" "If you want." She smiled. "Only if we go together." As the sun rose, Luma held a small piece of metal in her hand. It was shaped like a circle, with a mark scratched into it. She held it out to Jack. "What's this?" he asked. "A name tag," she said. "Like soldiers wear." He looked at the mark. It was a symbol she had made. "It means free heart in my language," she said. "Because that's what you gave me." Jack took it and smiled. "Then I'll wear it with pride." And so the tiny alien girl who once feared to be eaten became the girl who chose her own destiny. Not because she was saved, but because she learned to fight, learned to trust, and finally, learned to love. She aimed the tool at Jack's head. Her tiny hands trembled, but her eyes were sharp. "Like this?" Luma asked. Jack didn't flinch. He smiled. "Perfect. Except next time, don't close your eyes when you swing." Luma blinked. "But I'm scared I'll hurt you," he laughed. "If you can hurt me with that plastic wrench, I probably deserve it." Luma lowered the tool and giggled. It was the first time her laugh didn't sound nervous. It sounded real, like sunlight after a storm. They had spent 2 days in the new hideout, an old cave Jack had found during his early scouting trips. He had reinforced it with metal sheets, a heater coil, and a fresh water tank, and more importantly, no one knew about it. Here, Luma had changed. She wasn't hiding in corners anymore. Now, she was learning. Jack taught her how to cook simple food, how to use tools, and even how to spot traps in the forest. Luma learned fast, too fast. You've done this before, haven't you? Jack asked one evening as she fixed a broken radio. She didn't answer for a moment. Then she whispered, "They made me fix machines in the labs. If I broke something, they punished." Jack looked at her with soft eyes. "You're safe now. No more punishments. Just learning." She nodded slowly. "Learning is better with you." That night, Jack showed her the stars. They sat outside the cave, staring up at the black sky full of tiny white dots. Luma leaned against his arm. "Which one is your home?" Jack pointed. "That one, Earth." "It's beautiful." He looked at her. "What about your home?" She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I don't remember. I was taken when I was small." Jack felt his chest tighten. He didn't know what to say, but Luma turned to him and asked, "Can Earth be my home too?" Jack smiled. "It can be if we ever get off this rock." Luma looked up again, this time with hope. But their peace didn't last long. On the third morning, Luma was sorting old metal scraps when she found a strange chip buried under a crate. It blinked. She gasped, "Jack!" He rushed over, his eyes narrowed. A black disc with a glowing red core. "Tracking chip," he muttered. "That's not mine." Luma's hands shook. "They're close again, aren't they?" Jack nodded. "Which means someone put this here after we arrived." Luma stepped back. "But how?" Jack picked up the chip carefully and crushed it under his boot. Then he turned to her. "There's only one way this thing got in here." He opened the back storage pack and froze. It had been moved. Not by him. Luma stepped closer. "What is it?" Jack pulled out a small empty container. It used to hold emergency food. And under it, something even worse, a listening device. Someone had been in their cave while they slept. Jack's face hardened. "We have a problem." Luma felt her chest tighten. "They're watching us again?" "Worse," Jack said. "They already found us. They just haven't attacked yet." "Why?" Jack looked her in the eyes. "Because they're waiting for the right moment." That night, Luma couldn't sleep. She sat near the fire, her eyes fixed on the cave entrance. Jack noticed. "You okay?" She shook her head. "What if I'm the problem? If I wasn't here, you'd be safe." Jack walked over and sat beside her. "Luma, listen to me." She didn't look up. He gently turned her face toward him. "You are not the problem. You're the reason I remembered how to care again. Before you, I was just surviving. Now, I'm living." Her eyes filled with tears. "But they're hurting you because of me." Jack smiled gently. "Then let them try." Luma looked confused. "Why?" "Because you're worth protecting." She burst into tears and hugged him tightly. He held her close. No more words. Only warmth. Asterisk. The fire was not from their camp. It was from the forest. Bright orange flames danced against the night sky, lighting up the trees like angry ghosts. Smoke curled through the branches. Animals ran. The ground trembled with heavy boots. They were coming. And this time they were, burning everything behind them. Jack stood at the cave entrance, rifle in hand, eyes locked on the distant fire. "They're flushing us out," he muttered. Luma stood beside him, trembling. The glow of the flames reflected in her golden eyes. "They want to burn us alive?" Jack nodded. "They can't find us, so they'll smoke us out." Luma's fists clenched. "No more running," she whispered. Jack looked at her. "Then, what do we do?" She turned to him, fear still in her, but something stronger now too. "I want to fight." They packed fast. Jack grabbed the last of the energy cells, 2 water canisters, and a shock knife. Luma grabbed the handmade tools Jack gave her and tied them to her belt. But just as they were ready to move, the roof of the cave cracked. Boom. Rocks fell. Dust filled the air. A metal claw punched through the top. Go! Jack shouted. They dashed through the back tunnel as the cave began to collapse. Behind them, heavy footsteps echoed. The bounty hunters had found them. The outside world wasn't any kinder. A cold storm had started. Winds howled. Ice fell from the sky in sharp pieces. The smoke from the forest fire met the freezing storm, creating a thick fog that burned the throat and stung the eyes. Luma coughed and leaned into Jack's side. I can't see. Hold on to me. He yelled. They pushed through thick mud and twisted trees, trying to reach the ridge on the far side of the valley. Jack's final emergency shelter. But then a scream. Not Luma's, a creature's. A wild beast tall as 2 men, skin like stone, charged out of the mist. Jack raised his rifle, but it jammed. Luma didn't wait. She reached into her belt, pulled the small spark bomb Jack had taught her to make, and threw it at the monsters. Face bang! The flash exploded. The beast stumbled back, roaring. Jack stared at her. You did that? She nodded. Lesson 5. Jack laughed. Even in the storm, you really are learning fast. By the time they reached the shelter, both were soaked and shivering. The shelter was hidden beneath a dead tree, buried in snow and stone. Jack pried the door open with a crowbar and helped Luma crawl inside. The heater still worked. Barely. They wrapped themselves in old blankets and sat by the weak glow. Luma's lips were blue. Jack rubbed her small hands between his, trying to warm her. You okay? He asked. She nodded, then shook her head. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too, he said honestly. But we're alive. She looked up at him. Thanks to you, he smiled. No, thanks to you. That spark bomb saved us both. She leaned against him. Will they stop chasing us? Jack shook his head. Not yet. They want you too badly. Luma closed her eyes. I don't want to be something wanted. I want to be someone loved. Jack's chest ached. He didn't know how to answer. So he said nothing. He just held her tighter as the storm howled outside. Hours passed. The storm didn't stop. Suddenly, a red light blinked inside the shelter. Luma sat up. What's that? Jack grabbed the scanner. His face turned pale. They're here. Luma stood. How? Jack opened a small screen and saw something that made his heart sink. Human face. Not a bounty hunter. A man in military uniform. Someone from Earth. The message was short. Subject found. Orders. Eliminate the human. Retrieve the specimen. Luma gasped. Your own people? Jack's eyes darkened. They knew about you this whole time. Now he understood. The bounty hunters were just tools. Earth's command wanted Luma all along. Luma backed away. So I'll never be free? Jack stood. His voice was firm now. Yes, you will. How? Jack opened the last crate. Inside was a small escape pod, just big enough for one. He turned to her. You're getting out of here. Her eyes filled with tears. But what about you? I'll distract them. Buy you time. No! She shouted. You'll die. Jack smiled sadly. If that's the price of your freedom, I'll pay it. Luma grabbed his arm. You said I'm worth protecting. So are you. Jack looked into her eyes, and in that moment, he realized she wasn't just the one being saved anymore. She didn't run to escape. She ran to disappear. Luma's tiny feet hit the cold ground again and again, but she felt nothing. Her mind was louder than the storm around her. Every word, every scream, every cage from her past was shouting inside. Her head, pet, test subject. She's small, she's perfect for breeding. Obey or be punished. She had trusted once. And they hurt her. Again and again. So when Jack told her he didn't betray her, she didn't listen. Because they all say that before the pain. Luma stumbled through the thick alien trees, slipping on moss-covered rocks. The wind screamed in her ears. The sky above was growing dark. Then her leg gave out, the same one that had been caught in Jack's trap. She collapsed near a giant tree root and curled up in a ball. Tears spilled from her golden eyes. But no one was there to see them. Jack searched for hours. He yelled her name again and again into the wind. "Luma, where are you?" No answer, only silence. He climbed rocks, crossed a frozen stream, and nearly fell into a hole, but kept going. He followed tiny footprints until they vanished in mud. He sat on a log, breathing hard. Then he heard it. Sound so soft, it was almost part of the wind. A cry. He stood quickly and followed it, heart racing. There under a twisted tree was Luma, curled up, shivering, crying. Jack walked slowly, arms open, voice gentle. "Luma, it's me. I didn't call them. That tracker, it was planted. I destroyed it." She didn't move. Jack knelt beside her. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for everything. I would never hurt you. I swear on my life." Luma didn't speak, but she didn't run either. He wrapped his coat around her and carried her back to camp. Back in the tent, the fire was warm again. Luma sat on a blanket, her hands wrapped around a hot drink. Her eyes were puffy from crying. Jack sat nearby, quiet. Then, for the first time, she spoke without fear. "I was born in a cage." Jack looked at her. Luma didn't look up. "My planet was attacked. I was taken, sold, studied. They put wires in my head, tested how much pain I could take. I screamed. They laughed." Jack's fists clenched. She continued. "One day, another human came. He smiled, said he'd take care of me. He gave me sweet food. I believed him." Her voice broke. "He sold me again the next day." Now she looked up. "You're different. But I don't know how to trust that." Jack's voice was soft. "I don't blame you. I wouldn't trust me either if I were you." Luma wiped a tear. "Why are you even here?" she asked. "Why did you save me?" Jack sighed. "Because I've lost too." He pointed at a small photo near his bag. It showed a woman and a child. "My wife, my daughter, gone in a raid. I joined a scout mission to forget, but ended up stuck here." He looked into the fire. "You remind me of her. My little girl, scared, brave, small but strong." Luma blinked. "Strong?" Jack nodded. "You survived all that. That's strength." Silence fell between them. Then Luma crawled closer and touched his hand gently. "I want to believe you," she said. Jack smiled. "That's a start." Later that night, they sat beside the fire. Luma picked up a stick and began drawing in the dirt. A picture took shape. A large room with glass walls, cages, humans in white suits, and small figures like her trapped, crying. She drew herself in one of the cages. Then she drew another figure beside it. It was Jack, with a big head and long legs, and a smile. He laughed. "I look like a bug." Luma giggled for the first time. "I don't know how to draw humans," she said. Jack smiled. "It's perfect." Then Luma whispered, "I hope they don't find me again." Jack's face turned serious. "They won't." "But what if they come?" "Then they'll have to go through me." Luma looked at him for a long time. Then she said quietly, "Thank you, Jack." He nodded. "You're safe now, I promise." The camp was too quiet. Even the wind had stopped. The fire crackled softly, but something in the air had changed. Jack felt it in his chest, a heavy silence, the kind that came before danger. Luma felt it too. She sat up from her blanket and looked toward the tent entrance. Her small ears twitched. Her golden eyes widened. "They're coming," she whispered. Jack stood fast. "Who?" She pointed at the door. "The ones who bought me. I feel them." I always feel them." Before Jack could ask more, a red light on the edge of the tent began to blink. It was a silent motion detector, his last working one. Someone or something was outside. Jack grabbed his old rifle and stepped toward the entrance. "Stay behind." "Me," he told Luma. She nodded and held her breath. He peeked out. His heart dropped. Two tall figures stood near the rocks wearing black armor, helmets with glowing eyes, and plasma rifles in their hands. Their ship hovered quietly in the sky above them like a shadow with wings. They were bounty hunters. One of them raised a speaker to his mouth. "We know she's in there." "Human," the voice echoed. "The small specimen. The girl. Give her up, and we'll leave you unharmed." Jack didn't reply. Luma pulled on his sleeve from behind. "They smell me. They always do." Jack looked down at her. "Not this time." He turned back to the door. "She's not here," he shouted. "And even if she was, you're not taking her." The two hunters paused. Then they laughed. "Very brave," the voice said, "but very stupid." Suddenly, the tent shook as something heavy landed on the roof. A third bounty hunter, this one smaller, but faster, dropped from above and rolled into the camp. He aimed his weapon at Luma. Jack fired first. Boom. The laser from his rifle hit the hunter's armor, sending him crashing into the tent wall. Sparks flew. Jack shouted, "Run, Luma!" She didn't hesitate. She grabbed a smoke flare from the supply box and threw it down. The tent filled with gray fog. Jack grabbed her hand and pulled her through the back exit flap he had secretly cut weeks ago. They ran into the forest through roots, under branches, across glowing alien flowers. Luma's tiny feet hardly touched the ground. Behind them, the hunters shouted and fired blindly into the smoke. After 10 long minutes, Jack and Luma hid inside a hollowed-out tree trunk deep in the woods. They were breathing hard. Luma clung to his arm, trying not to cry. Jack placed a finger over his lips. They might still be close." Luma nodded and covered her mouth. Outside, footsteps crunched, then a voice. "She's worth 100,000 credits, one hunter growled. "That human must be insane." "He'll break soon," said the other. "They all do." Jack held Luma tighter. His jaw clenched. He wasn't going to break. Not for money. Not for fear. And definitely not for monsters like them. After a while, the voices faded. Luma finally whispered, "Why do they want me so much?" Jack looked at her, even covered in dirt. Scared and shivering, her eyes held something powerful. "You're rare," he said. "Special. And terrible people only care about what you're worth to them." Luma lowered her head. "I don't want to be special." Jack touched her shoulder. Gently. "Then let's make you something else." She looked up. "Let's make you free." Later that night, back at a new hidden shelter Jack had prepared weeks ago, they sat near another fire. Jack fixed his rifle. Luma drew a new symbol in the dirt. A cage with a giant X over it. "No more cages," she whispered. Jack nodded. He placed a new device in the middle of the shelter, a signal jammer made from broken ship parts. It would block trackers and scanners for at least a few hours. "Next time," he said, "we'll be ready." But Luma looked at him seriously. Double quotes, "No, I want to be ready too." He looked at her. "What do you mean?" She held up a small tool like a screwdriver. "Teach me," she said. "To fight." Jack stared at her. Then he smiled. "All right, little warrior. Lesson 1 starts tomorrow." Jack was alone on Planet 42K. It was quiet, cold, and full of strange trees and giant rocks. The sky was always gray. His ship had broken down weeks ago, and now he was running out of food. Every day, he set traps to catch small animals. So far, nothing. But today was different. Early in the morning, Jack walked toward the old trap he had set near a rocky hill. He moved slowly, holding his rifle just in case. As he got closer, he heard something, a small soft noise. Like a whimper. He raised his eyebrows. Something was caught. He walked faster and then stopped suddenly. Inside the trap was not an animal. Not even close. It was a tiny creature, no bigger than a cat. She had purple skin, large golden eyes, and short silver hair. Her clothes were torn, dirty, and full of holes. Her hands were tied, and her feet looked bruised. She stared up at Jack. Shaking hard, her whole body trembling, Jack knelt slowly. "Hey, are you hurt?" The tiny alien girl didn't answer. She looked terrified. Her eyes were wide, and tears filled the corners. She opened her mouth and spoke something in a strange, musical language. Then she said in broken English, "Please." "No, eat me." Jack froze. He blinked. "What? Eat you?" She nodded fast and tried to crawl backward, but the trap held her leg tight. She winced in pain. Jack sighed and carefully reached toward the trap. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said calmly. "Let me get this off." But as soon as he touched the trap, she screamed and swung her small fist at him. It barely hurt, but the fear in her eyes made Jack feel like a monster. "Stop," he said, trying to stay gentle. "I'm not your enemy." The girl didn't understand. She kept yelling in her own language and tried to bite him. After a few more seconds, Jack gave up talking. He carefully opened the trap, and the metal arms released her bruised leg. She gasped, pulled her leg to her chest, and tried to crawl away, then collapsed. Too weak, she passed out. Jack stared at her tiny body for a moment, then looked around. "Damn!" He whispered. "Guess I can't just leave you here." Back at Jack's camp, the fire burned quietly in the metal stove. He placed the small alien girl on a soft blanket inside his tent. He wrapped her in his old coat and put a heating pad under her. She didn't wake up. He watched her chest rise and fall slowly. She was breathing. "That was good." Jack scratched his head. "Who are you, little one?" he asked softly. He cooked some warm soup and poured it into a tiny bowl. He placed it near her, hoping the smell would help her wake up. After an hour, her eyes opened. She sat up fast and looked around in panic. Then her gaze locked on Jack, who sat by the fire. "Where?" "I am?" she asked weakly. Jack smiled a little. "Safe. You're safe now." She looked confused. Her eyes moved around the room like she was searching for danger. He slid the bowl toward her. "Eat. You need food." She looked at the soup, then at him, then back at the soup. Her tiny hands shook as she picked up the spoon. She sniffed it. Then, slowly, she took one small bite, then another, and another. "Good," she said softly. Jack chuckled. "Yeah, it's not bad." But even as she ate, she kept looking at him with fear. Like he might change any moment and attack. Jack tried to smile gently. "I'm not going to eat you," she frowned. "Other humans." "Eat my kind." Jack's face went serious. "Not me. Never." She stared at him, trying to decide if she could believe him. Then she whispered, "Name, Luma." Jack nodded. "Nice to meet you, Luma. I'm Jack." Suddenly, Luma grabbed a sharp spoon and pointed it at him. "No tricks," she cried. "I fight." Jack raised both hands. Okay, no tricks. Just calm down." Luma breathed hard, eyes full of fear and pain. Then, she slowly lowered the spoon. Jack sighed. "That's better." She still didn't trust him, but at least she wasn't running. Outside the tent, the wind howled across the alien rocks. Inside, two souls, one human, one alien, sat near the fire, watching each other in silence. Neither knew their lives were about to change forever. She didn't sleep. Not even for a minute, all night. The tiny alien girl, Luma, sat curled in the corner of the tent, her arms hugging her knees, eyes locked on the human. Her golden eyes didn't blink much. She barely breathed. Jack felt the weight of her stare. He had tried to rest, but every time he opened one eye, he saw her watching him, like he might turn into a beast the second she closed hers. The morning came with wind, cold, and silence. Jack yawned, stretched, and looked at her. Still there. Still scared. Still shaking. Morning, Jack said gently. You hungry again? Luma didn't answer. She didn't move. Jack stood and turned to prepare food. He pretended not to look at her. Maybe if he acted normal, she'd feel safe. He poured warm water, crushed some root vegetables, and added dry meat bits. It wasn't much, but it smelled good. Then, behind him, he heard something. A scrape, a soft one. Like a foot on the floor. He looked over his shoulder. She had moved. Luma was now closer to the fire but still far from him. She sniffed the air and blinked at the boiling pot. Her eyes weren't full of fear now, just confusion. And hunger. Jack smiled a little. You can sit closer. I won't bite. She frowned. You promise? I promise. She stared at him for a few more seconds, then finally sat on the opposite side of the fire. Her tiny hands were red from the cold. She held them out toward the flames, and her shoulders slowly dropped. Jack handed her a small cup of food. She reached out to take it, but her fingers brushed against his glove. She flinched hard and pulled back like she touched something sharp. Sorry, Jack said quickly, placing the cup on the ground between them. Luma waited a few seconds, then picked it up. She sipped. Then she stared at him. Not poisoned? Jack gave a tired laugh. If I wanted to poison you, I wouldn't have saved you from that trap. Luma tilted her head. Why did you? Jack paused. No one had asked him that before. Not even himself. Because you looked scared, he said. And hurt. That was enough. Luma didn't reply. But her body relaxed a little. Her eyes were still wide, but the fear inside them had softened. Just a bit. As the day passed, Jack worked around the camp. Luma followed from a distance, still watching everything like a shadow. She didn't speak much, but she never took her eyes off him. He showed her the broken ship, the tools, and his gear. She didn't understand most of it, but she listened. Then she found something odd. A metal box with a blinking light. Her face went pale. What is this? She asked. Jack turned around and his eyes went wide. That's a tracker. She shouted. She dropped the box like it burned her. You tricked me, she yelled, backing away. You lied. You told them where I am. No, wait, Luma. I didn't activate that. Luma's breathing became fast and loud. They use that to find escaped pets, slaves, breeding stock. Jack's heart sank. He didn't know the box was active. I swear I didn't turn it on. He said, maybe those bounty hunters planted it. Please, you have to believe me. But Luma didn't. She shook her head and ran. Luma, wait. She ran outside the tent and into the alien wild. Jack grabbed his jacket and followed. The cold air bit his face. He looked left and right, but she was already gone. Damn it, he muttered. He checked the tracker box. It had a red light blinking. Someone was coming. Not good. He turned it off and crushed it with a rock. Then he looked out at the rocky horizon. The planet was dangerous. Wild beasts, freezing winds, steep cliffs, and Luma was out there. Tiny, alone, still thinking she was just food or property to be hunted. Jack looked at the sky and whispered, Hold on, little one. I'm coming.